Welcome back to another episode of Leadership Blueprints. Today, I'm really excited for our guest, who is a bit of a leader in my life and has been a leader in his own life. I got to give a little bit of background before I bring him in here. I met this gent through Bill Watkins, who has been on the show. Bill has a coaching program mostly focused on service academy entrepreneurs that are kind of launching their business or just getting ready to go from launch into really trying to operationalize and get themselves a little bit more out of the business. And I got to know this gentleman who's also a West Point grad, so there was some instant credibility and rapport and relationship there. And he always struck me as somebody that was further ahead of me and always had this kind of calm way of giving feedback and challenging and asking questions, but in a curious way. Uh, Fast forward, I am a big subscriber to Dan Sullivan's books. Um, Dan Sullivan, uh, he's written, I don't know, probably 10 or 20. He's very good at taking a concept and then creating a bunch of IP around it. But um, he's been great for me. And I started seeing a gentleman, Ben Hardy, as kind of the co-author of a few books. One that sticks out is Who Not How, and the other one is 10x is easier than 2x. And then about 9 months ago, I see Instagram ads and just coming at me hard, and I'm like, oh, I'm somebody's demographic, and it's all about scaling. So Ben Hardy, and I'll let my guests talk about scaling.com. Um, I like the curious entrepreneur I am. I'm always looking for is there something else I can put in my backpack to make me better? So long story short, I apply to this program, and lo and behold, Jeff Evenson, who's my guest today, says, "Dude, I'm going to be your strategist. Let's go." And our paths intersected, and Jeff being a part of the scaling program. For anybody out there that's like, you bought some shit off of Instagram. First of all, entrepreneurs are known to do these things, so we can be very
Right.
curious and exploratory. And Ben Hardy already had built rapport with me by being associated with Dan Sullivan, who I respected their content and their curriculum a whole lot, or their concepts. But then Jeff, having engaged, I knew he would do his due diligence on what the program was, and he wasn't going to put his reputation on something. So all of this comes together that I've been working with Jeff for just over 6 months in the scaling.com program. John Nelson, my CFO, and I have been. And we're going to get into kind of all things around scaling and coaching, and probably a lot around 10x is easier than 2x and all sorts of stuff. So, without further ado, West Point grad, strategist at scaling.com, and entrepreneur and leader in his own right, Jeff Evenson. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bell. Great entry here.
I,
Yeah,
I
happy to
may
be
have I
here.
may have meandered on that entry, but I
Imagine
landed the
that.
plane.
Imagine that. No, I appreciate that, and really privileged to be here with you today, BJ. Excited to talk to you.
I'm excited to dig in. So I think we should start with what the brand promise is of scaling.com. And then I'd love to hear what attracted you to it, because I know that as a strategist, you get to go represent that brand promise and help live it. So
Yeah.
let's start there.
Well, so our brand promise at scaling.com is pretty simple. We're going to help you at least 10x your business in 3 years or less. Sounds crazy. I know it does because when I first heard of it, I was like, I'm not a scaling guy. Like, I don't think 10x is a thing. But Dr. Benjamin Hardy is the founder. He and Blake Erickson, his co-author on the book called The Science of Scaling. Um, they wrote on these concepts. The book launched last July. I will tell you that what attracted me to it was two things. One, near and dear to our hearts, was Freddie Kim. Freddie had met Dr. Hardy at a presentation that Ben had done, and approached him afterwards and said, "Hey, I think I can help." You know, Freddie has the talent acquisition company,
Yep.
Milspec Talent, and he said, "I think I can help you find these strategists that you're talking about to help your clients scale their companies. I think I have a good, you know, audience that I can reach out to get to those folks." And Ben said, "Hey, talk to my co-author Blake. Blake would love to talk to you about that type of thing." So he has a conversation with Blake. Freddie calls me and he says, "Dude, they are looking for you. I don't know if there's more of an avatar out there than Jeff Evenson to be a strategist for Ben Hardy." And I'm like, "Get out of here." I mean, I'd read a lot of Ben's stuff as well, and I've been a fan. Um, and so I'd read his books that he wrote with Dan. You know, basically it was a you know a trilogy. It
Yeah,
was
which one did I miss?
you missed The Gap and the Gain,
Oh,
which if you
I
haven't
think
read that one, that
I
I think you
have.
have.
I
Yeah, I mean,
have.
The Gap and the Gain is a great book. So Gap and the Gain, Who Not How, 10x is easier than 2x. And I had read all three of those books, and I was like, I get to maybe work with those guys. That's pretty cool. And I'll be honest with you, I had a conversation with Blake. Blake kind of told me what the plan was and how they anticipated launching the book and bringing in business owners to help them achieve what they call an impossible goal. The impossible goal is a 10x goal, but the more impossible piece of it is to collapse and use time as a tool to collapse that timeline into 3 years instead of, frankly, where most 10x goals are sitting out 15, 20 years from now. Ben's mindset is that if we use time as a tool, we can force people to think differently and create innovative pathways to get to that 10x goal in a much shorter time frame. So, interviewed with Blake. Blake brought me on as the first strategist. I was actually the first non-author of the book to take a call with a client, and the rest is history. We now have over a dozen strategists. We're pushing 500 scalers, and it's a privilege to work with these business owners and help them. It's really two things, BJ. It's the business side of this. What are the things we have to do within the business to simplify and leverage and make these big moves? And then the other piece is probably equally, if not more important, is the psychology of it. And
Identity.
really the identity part of it. Exactly. There's an identity shift that has to happen as part of this journey. And frankly, that's, um, even more fun than than the business side of it.
Yeah. Well, the thing that got me, I said, um, I talk about not working harder, but working smarter all the time.
Hmm.
And, that really is a leadership and a leverage concept is like, how do I, how do I not just add to my, and this is what Bill Watkins was very good at. Like
Hmm.
the idea is not, oh, the best way for me to do double is for me to work double. No, that's
Yeah,
not
right.
right. It's like, well, it's all work smarter, not harder. And even though I knew that that is the pathway for everything, and you talked about simplification and leverage, the thing that gave me pause was like, wait, 10x in 3 years. I got a family. I don't want to get divorced.
Right.
I have ambitious goals in my business and I have ambitious aspirations for my employees and for our impact and how we help clients, all of this stuff.
Hmm.
But I'm not going to sacrifice it all.
Right.
And that was
Right.
what I said in my filtering call. And like
Yeah.
that's the only thing that gives me pause. And they're like, that why would we make our brand promise, hey, 10x your business while you
and destroy your marriage.
destroy your life. I'm
Yeah,
like,
right.
yeah, I get it, but um, and day one, after reading the book and then getting on the first call with you, it's like just thinking differently about the timeline automatically makes you think about like, oh, how could I do that? And
Yeah.
to be honest with everybody, like Jeff and I know what my 10x goal is, but it took a lot of time, and I'm not going to say it out loud. It took a lot of time to refine because you could focus on profitability, you could focus on number of employees, you could focus on number of clients. In the built environment, you could focus on number of projects impacted or number of
Hmm.
clients impacted.
Hmm.
There were all
Yeah.
of these. It could be number of podcasts subscribers because 10x is in the eye of the entrepreneur and in the eye of the leader. Your goal is just to help that organization and that leader guide that organization to be focused on that. And I am one that was like 10 years. And I will be honest with you that 10 years ago, almost, I think it's actually 8.5,
Mm-hmm.
I started EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time I even set a 10-year vision for the company.
Yeah.
And we're not there yet.
Right.
It's like, so starting with you refreshing and saying like, wow, could I actually hit the 10-year goal from 8.5 years ago at the same timeline that I originally thought I would? And EOS, like Bill, was very good for kind of getting your head in the game, giving you a framework for putting a business plan on paper. But the unlock to me with scaling is, like you said, higher leverage business decisions and the identity shift. And I think I'd like to get into signal and noise,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. That's great.
because that to me was back into the work harder, not smarter, is
Hmm.
get involved in every ounce of noise that comes at you
Right.
versus like,
Right.
whoa,
Because
what's
everything
below?
everything seems like it can be an opportunity, right? And why would I turn those things down? So you're absolutely right, BJ. The what happens when you and we talk about frame floor focus. So what happens is when you raise your frame to a higher level, you make this 10x goal and you collapse the timeline into 3 years. What you recognize is that all the pathways that you thought you could use to get to it in 10 years aren't going to get you there in three.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, some of the pathways that you thought could get you there in 10 years will actually keep you from getting there in three. And so it's kind of a false narrative or a false requirement that you're working on. Like, Elon Musk says that, the problem with most engineers is that they optimize for things that shouldn't be there in the first place.
Mhm.
And so a lot of those pathways, if you said, I want to get to, you know, 10x where I am today, I want to get there in 30 years. There are a bazillion different ways that you can get there.
Right.
And you can participate in all of them and see which one catches hold. But if you say, no, I need you to do it in 18 months, now you go, well, shoot, none of those are going to work. Well, maybe just this one. Maybe this one gets us there, whatever that might be. And it doesn't matter. The crazy thing, BJ, that I found, probably the most surprising thing I found in my role is that this applies across every industry, every kind of business on the planet.
Yeah.
This whole concept, I have a hog farmer in Minnesota who wants to 10x his business from a certain number of head of sows to a 10x head of sows. I don't even know the first thing about the sow business. But what I can tell you is that there's only a couple pathways that get him to that number.
Right.
And so he has to let go of all that noise and just find the signal of what will actually take him to that 10x goal. And I compare it to here's the thing that's really crazy is that once you let go of the past and let your future frame you're present, a lot of the things that were just there were opportunities that were sitting out there you didn't notice because that wasn't where your mind was.
Right.
So if it's an acquisition path, for instance, I've got one client who has a print shop, and she was all about optimizing things in her business to try and grow it marginally over the course of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last year I did 800,000. This year I want to do 900,000. Maybe I'll get to a million.
Right.
But if she wants to get to 10 million, that's not going to work.
Right.
Matter of fact, there are things in her business that she was trying to optimize. One of them was that she was delivering to customers that were 4 hours away from her. Literally would take her all day. Her personally she would get into her car and drive 8 hours a day to deliver a package to somebody. Why? Because she wanted to be as efficient as possible. Well, now she realizes that she shouldn't be delivering in the first place.
Yeah. I
So
thought two things when you said that. It's like, oh, she's
yeah,
4 hours away. I actually, I'm gonna give a shout out. Eustace Mita, who was on here. I talked to him about a project, and he's like, if it's not 2 hours from my office, I don't do it.
yeah,
It's like being
right,
that strict. So it's like,
yeah,
hey, 4 hours
that,
away doesn't work my
yeah.
system.
Well, and now her system is she doesn't do any projects for anybody that are going to pay her less than $20,000 a year.
Hmm.
So somebody, the local church that wants to run some flyers for their bingo, sorry, find somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it broke her heart to have to say no to people. So
Yeah.
so I'll get to the next step, which is now that we've raised our frame and we've cut out a lot of that noise, we've set a floor. We have to set a floor. That floor will indicate what things we can do, and more importantly, what things we say no to. The 99% of stuff out there that we just can't do anymore
Right. Well,
because
and to the
oh,
identity point, so that in the business saying yes and no to certain things, and then in the identity as the
yes,
leader saying yes and no to things. Like I there's noise in every business every day.
yes,
And John Nelson just stopped me the other day. It was like the pavement guy was here to take a look at our back lot. And I like the lot pisses me off and I'm curious. And
yeah.
he's
So you
like,
jump into action,
do not dare jump into that meeting. I'm like,
right?
touche. Thank you.
That's right. Yeah, and so and what that does, BJ, is that the thing that I find fascinating about it is by saying no to certain things, you've all of a sudden shown your team what signal is and what
Hmm.
signal isn't, right? So they understand, oh, we don't do that anymore.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, the most powerful piece of this is to when you establish a floor, sometimes it's project size, sometimes it's types of clients or distance to project or whatever that might be, right? When you establish that floor, the great thing is to empower your team to be the guardians of the floor. And my favorite moment is when somebody says, "Hey BJ, I thought we didn't do that stuff anymore."
Yeah.
That's
I
a
mean,
power move, man.
it is.
It's
Well, and
huge.
it's shifting the identity of everybody. It's shifting the identity of business, and that's cultural.
Yes. Yes. And then the crazy like woo-woo piece of this is that once you raise your floor to that level, the projects that are above the floor start popping out from everywhere.
Yeah.
When I talk about my print shop person, she had half a dozen um, banks or credit unions that she's doing printing for. Those are the folks paying her 50 plus thousand a year. And they are, hey, if I can get 10 of those, I'm going to kill. Right. So, so what happens is when she starts to get rid of all the noise below 10,000, $20,000 a year, now all of a sudden she has bandwidth and she starts to notice opportunities above the floor.
Hmm.
And so it's like if I decided today that I wanted to buy a red Tesla, everywhere I drove, I'd see a red Tesla, right?
Yeah.
It's that whole Malcolm Gladwell thing, right? Um, and so the whole concept of signal is not just within your team showing them what signal is, but also showing the market what your signal is. And once that is established in the marketplace, then people know, oh, well, BJ does these things.
Right.
So then it just becomes they come to you. I've got a construction guy out in or a window coverings guy out in California, and he's like he'd never done a project more than $1 million. And once he gave up doing any project below 200,000, he's at the table with people doing $5 million projects. He's like, I
Yeah.
don't even understand how that happens. Like, because you weren't looking for him before, man.
Well,
And
and it
because the market didn't take you seriously.
well, and I think that there's also an unlock in leaders when you're not so busy saying yes to everything, you can
Mm,
be really diligent with the yes. And when you say yes to something, you get to pour your creativity and your energy and your strategy and your know-how and your experience into that one thing instead
yes.
of diluting it over 20 things.
Man,
Uh,
you just segued perfectly. Frame, floor, focus, right? So once you raise your floor and you establish the game you're playing and how you're winning, then that's your focus. And you pour all the resources, all your energy. Now, it may be 90% of your energy. You may have these other things you have to deal with, but everything you got is highly focused now.
yeah.
So what you've done is you simplified your system in simple scales. Complexity only scales into chaos. And for
That's the
anybody
book.
who's
That's the book I was writing for 10 years.
right, I mean
I'll show you,
anybody
Dr. Hardy.
exactly, exactly. I mean, and it's true. I mean the the idea of scaling is simple. It's not easy. No one's going to say it's easy, but it's simple.
Yeah.
Simplicity scales every single time.
Mainly because you get to be really, really good at fewer things.
Yes, it's mastery, bro.
It
Absolutely.
it's
And
um
if you think about what you mastered to get to where you are today, that's different than what you have to master to get to 10x.
yeah, what got you here won't get you there. I forget who wrote that book.
100%.
But
Is
I mean, I say that a lot.
yeah.
And I want to hit something for leaders out there that are like, yeah, sounds good, but you don't understand what I'm dealing
Mm,
with. And I told people I thought that leading in the army just came so naturally to me. Take care of your
mhm.
soldiers. Uh, one of the ways to build credibility with soldiers, especially in kind of a light fighting or a combat engineering unit, was be good at PT. So
Yep.
be good at PT. You look fit, and they respect you.
Yep.
Care about them and ask them questions about themselves. You care about them, and then every now and then, um, you
Go
know,
change a tire.
correct.
Go to the motor
Get in
pool and
the
change a
yeah,
tire.
get in the motor
Exactly.
pool with them, and it's like
Right.
and I am simplifying. There are a lot of things that we went through in the pipeline to prepare us to be competent
Yep.
for the role. But the level of expectation on a platoon leader, because you have a platoon sergeant that's been around the block a while, is pretty low. It's like
Sure.
just be a just be a
Decent dude.
have
Yeah.
some command presence,
Yes.
be fit, don't
Yes.
screw up your uniform, and learn, ask questions.
Right.
Um,
Humble leadership's important.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's the opposite of like the bad rep that West Pointers can get sometimes is we
100%.
come out of West Point and we're smarter than everybody. I
Right. Right.
I knew I wasn't smarter than like 800 of my classmates, so I certainly wasn't going to be smarter than no,
Right
I
on.
was already humbled.
That's already that place humbled you. That's awesome. Love it.
But as you move up, like you kind of understand the role and responsibility of each new leadership layer, and everybody has this understanding like the PL became the
Mhm.
XO, the XO became the assistant S3. Oh, the assistant S3 got company command. Like
Right.
there's just a very defined pathway. And then
Hmm.
there's rules and responsibilities and kind of expectations from everybody. Like, oh, the XO doesn't do that job anymore. That's the PL's job. When you're
Right.
building an entrepreneurial organization and growing, it's like every quarter, I am incrementally changing my job to focus on the new company I have.
Mm.
Yesterday, I was a 30-person company. Today, I'm a 40-person company. Yesterday, I had a
Yeah. Right.
two-person leadership team. Today, I have a four-person. My job responsibilities are constantly changing, and the ability to renegotiate expectations all the time is very hard. Like,
Hmm.
I have a buddy in the restaurant businesses. You do a job once, and you're doing somebody a favor. Do it twice, it's your job.
It's your job all of a
It's
sudden.
like
Yeah.
you
Right.
just signaled to everybody, like, yeah, that's what I do here.
No question.
Um, and that is hard for us leaders that grew up saying like being with the soldiers in the motor pool is how I get to know them. It's how I build credibility. It's how I build trust. It's how I build. It's how I show love in my leadership
Hmm.
style. To then slowly become less available to everybody or to all these things requires a little bit of expectation management, renegotiating. And one of the case studies I heard from, I can't remember, it was like, you don't just stop. You don't just fire people that, don't fit that, like, when I say people, clients, you don't just fire, but you just say, hey,
Right.
look, we're shifting. We really appreciate your business. Love you as a client, but we are probably not the best at what we're giving you. And we are making the decision to shift because our best clients hire us for X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And back to the point of you're like, we don't do the $2,000 job for the church. We only do the $20,000 jobs now. The case study said that in like 50% of those cases, parted ways amicably, and the other
Hmm.
50% were like, well, then give us the platinum package. Why are we
Right.
why are we doing the
Right.
bronze
As
package?
as a matter of fact, I go a step further, and in some of those stories, the business owner actually apologized to their customer,
Yeah,
saying, we've underserved you because we gave you what you asked for, not what you need.
yeah,
And so when we served you at 20 grand, what we really should have been doing was offering you this 200 grand program because that's
right.
what you need to get your product to this whatever the
It,
situation
it
was.
was, I think it was
Yeah.
a marketing
Yeah.
company. So we're probably
Yeah,
thinking of the same
I
case
know, I
study.
know the same. Yeah, I know the story. So yeah, I mean, and that to me was remarkable, right? Like half of those customers were like, well, heck yeah, if that's what I need to do to get access to the markets that you're telling me about, then let's go all in.
Yeah,
And he was stunned by that because you know his concern was, well, I've been put on this planet to serve people. I've got this business, which is the conduit through which I serve people, and now I'm telling them that I can't serve them.
yeah.
That's
I,
not who I am,
I feel the same exact way.
100%. And so the idea that I still get to serve you, but I can only serve you doing these things because this is what I'm really, really good at, and this is what you could potentially, the opportunity that you could have.
Yeah,
And if you don't want to take that chance now, I get it. And we can separate go our separate ways and love each other, and it's all good. But in order for me to have integrity with my business and what I'm doing, I need to serve you at this level, or else I just can't. Sir, I'll find someone else to help you out.
yeah. It's I think it's been a powerful shift for me.
Hmm.
And I want to hit this idea home. Like 6 months in, I still float back to a previous identity. So for
Sure.
those listening, it's not like, oh, you read the book and all of a sudden you're there. I forget who said it, but if information was the key to success, we'd all be billionaires with six pack abs.
Right. Right, right, exactly.
It's
I love
like
it.
change management of yourself is super freaking hard. Um,
Totally.
that is why you need a coach. That is why I won't tell you out there you need a coach. That's why I need a coach. I
Hmm.
I am about as disciplined as I think anybody I know, but I still need a trainer every now and then when I start getting lazy and not going to the gym as much as I need to. I I need a coach. I swam through college. I coached people in college. When I was training for a triathlon, I engaged a coach. Wasn't because they can give me better workouts than even, Runner's World or Triathlon World or Chat
Hmm.
GPT can give me. It's about accountability,
Hmm.
perspective, and I think sometimes when we're ambitious, we get so excited or emotional that we become impatient. And back to the thing that always struck me about Jeff was like it was calm. It was like, whoa, whoa, let's. It sounds like you got chaos around you. Let's calm down. Let's remove the complexity. And I leave a call, and it's like, what are the three things we're doing in the next 2 weeks? What are the three things that are in the next month? And like, I still come back disciplined, hardworking, focused individual. And I'm like, we did one and a half of those, Jeff. You're like, what's a half?
Yeah, right. Yeah. The cat
Um,
that, hey man, the whirlwind is real, right? Like, I
it
mean,
is.
yeah, and it distracts and it has the temptation to play in the weeds at the tactical level is really, really strong. And and I think it's funny because like you and John, when when we get on calls, you readily admit that within the last 24 or 48 hours, you've been cramming to get ready for our call. Because we had 3 weeks in between calls, but man, these last 48 hours have been a grind because I've been
the
just
the
trying to make
first 48 hours coming off of our
right.
call, and then the last 48 before is like when everything happens. I don't I
Just
hopefully not too many employees are listening to this, but the thing that got me through West Point is if you wait till the last minute, it only takes a minute.
that's
Uh,
exactly right, bro. I mean, that got me through the academy too. I'm with you. No, I think there's two things. One um, is the objectivity of a coach, right? The objectivity of somebody outside of your world, outside of your environment, who can look at it through a clear lens, and help you kind of get out of the emotion of it or get out of the industry specific part of it or whatever that is.
yep.
And then the other side of it is accountability to your point. Like I'm I'm probably like if you're the most disciplined person you know, I might be the least disciplined person you know. However, however, one of my gifts is that I can hold other people accountable. I don't hold myself accountable very often, but which is why I need a coach and I have one. Um, but but the idea that somebody can hold you accountable, that there's somebody that um, you knows that they have your best interest in mind,
Mm-hmm.
that they care about your success, and that's why they're teamed up with you. And B, that they're going to have the resolve that sometimes you don't,
Yeah.
right? Like they're going to say, "Yeah, that's great, but didn't you say you were going to do that?"
Right.
And and so they're not going to give you the pass that you might give yourself. Um, and so so I believe that there's there are these elements to coaching, and I discovered it probably 10 years ago, and it changed my life.
Yeah.
Just the idea. I mean, to be fair, I've been around coaching stuff for a long, long time. But to really say engage with somebody who was holding me personally accountable, and I'm like I said, I'm the most slippery guy there is as far as accountability is concerned. I can dodge it all, but but to bring somebody who is dedicated to helping me be the best version of myself, is a super powerful thing to have in your life. I mean, I strongly recommend it. Obviously it helps in the gym. That's where we all think of it the most. We think of, sports and, working out and whatever else. But personally, professionally, having somebody that is always in your corner, yet is also relatively rigorous with the accountability is a superpower, man.
I think it helps. I mean, we have accountability at MCFA as a core
Hmm.
value. I I, I am sympathetic, so I said I'm probably selectively disciplined. It's like you can only have so much,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
I do think I think it was Atomic Habits that talks about like um, there's only so much you can grow that discipline muscle, and at some point in time, it's why at the end of the day you could be healthy all day long, and then like, oh man, I need ice cream, and it's like,
Yeah. Right. Right.
um, but I also think in organizations it's lonely. Leadership can be lonely, and it's
Mm,
like to your
100%.
point, that objective accountability is the same thing I'm trying to give to my employees and my managers are trying to give to their team members. It's like, hey, you have a goal. You have, one of our brand promises to our employees is a fulfilling career. Fulfilling
Yeah.
careers don't happen walking down easy street. They
Right.
happen by stretching and doing hard things. And
Hmm.
um, I think that coach, that manager, that leader in front of you, um, that is being objective and saying, "Wait, last quarter we committed to this, or last week you said you were going to do that." Um, I think it just helps people, and it helps them improve that muscle. It helps make doing hard things easier,
Yeah.
um, just by constantly taking the next step forward. So
I'll throw something else in there too that I think is worthy of pointing out at this stage. It's actually a couple things. One of them is that we all have goals, and our future, our goals and our future self really shape who we are today. It's a much more powerful lens for your present than the past is.
yeah,
A lot of people, we know those people who kind of, they are who they are today because of what happened to them in the past. And they're hung up on that, right? But we all have goals, whether they're stated or not. And that goal really is the thing it's a much stronger filter to define who we are today because those choices we make today are to achieve those goals. But I will also say that, and what I've talked to you guys about and I talked to everybody about is the idea that the goal is just a tool.
yeah,
We don't want it to be a cudgel or a punishment or anything like that. We want it to be a tool, a useful tool that challenges our thinking and really shapes our decision making now and serves as a hard filter for the decisions we make we make today rather than some sort of punishment that, oh, if I don't achieve this, then I'm a bad human.
yeah.
And so I feel like there are a lot of people who have a bad relationship with goals. And it's because they use that goal to punish themselves
Hmm.
or to drive themselves so hard that if they don't achieve the goal, it means they're a bad person. Or they eschew everything else in their lives because they have a responsibility to that goal that overrides everything else in their life, right? So I don't um, encourage anybody to use the goal as a punishment. I always reinforce that, hey man, we've got to look at this goal as a tool, as something we're playing with here, trying to just challenge the way we're thinking. And that's why we make it aggressive. That's why we make it impossible. Because again, we go back to the other thing. Like a million things can get you to a linear goal. There's only a handful of things that can get you to an exponential goal.
Right. I love it. What didn't we hit on that you think is important for people to hear about?
I mean, the only other topic, and I touched on it for a second, is using time as a tool,
Yeah.
and the idea of Ben wrote a book long before he wrote any of the books with Dan or anything called "Be Your Future Self Now,"
Mm.
and the concept behind Be Your Future Self Now is pretty simple, right? Like, again, it goes back to the future being a great filter for today. Um, but I like to challenge people to think about the goal, but then to think from the goal. What does that future state look like and feel like? Who is BJ at that 10x goal? Who does he have to be? How many people is he leading? What are the responsibilities? What's his day to day look like?
What are his daily habits?
What are his daily habits? All those things, right? And then to kind of fast forward that to, okay, well, why aren't you doing those things today?
Right.
What's in your way? What has to get out of your way to be that future person today? And so I love the concept. It's challenged me a lot to really think about, my future self. One of the other things I've talked about is, and I don't know how much I've talked to you guys about this, but like, who are BJ and John at the goal as a partnership?
Right.
How are decisions being made? What's the overlap? What's your day-to-day interaction look like at that goal? And so that's kind of, whether it's a future partnership or a future marriage. I've got a lot of clients who are married couples running companies, right? And there's friction and whatever else. And I'm like, okay, so what does that future couple look like? How do they make
Right.
decisions? And then why can't we be that today? So I love that concept. Um, it's a little mind bending, but it's a good thing, right? I
I
mean,
I think it all forces you to change the way you look at how you go through life.
yeah.
And whether it's a coach or it's just the reflection of like I keep saying this is who I want to become, but I keep
Hmm.
doing things that are not aligned with who I want to become.
Yeah.
Um, and I agree, like you don't have to beat somebody over the head with that. It's just what incremental shift or what macro shift
Yeah.
can I do? And Gary Keller wrote the book The One Thing. It's like what one thing can I do that if by doing that, all these other things, either become irrelevant or unnecessary because I did that.
Or easier,
Easier.
right? I mean,
Yes.
we talk about, what's that next bottleneck? What's the decision you have to make today that makes the downstream decisions easier?
Yeah. It's this was fun. We didn't even get into your career path.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
but
not very exciting.
we
It's a
we
long and winding road. We need an entire another podcast for that.
all right. We'll save that for another day.
Right on.
Jeff, first appreciate you as a strategist and coach to me, but appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time sharing Dr. Ben Hardy's work and what scaling.com is doing. I think that there are a lot of leaders out there that are going to get something out of this. So really appreciate you taking the time. Where can people get in touch with you? Where can people find out more about scaling?
Well, you can go to our website, scaling.com, pretty simple. And you can there's a little litmus test on whether you're ready to scale and that sort of thing. Um, the book is available. The Science of Scaling is available on pretty much anywhere you get uh, ebooks or audiobooks or anything. I mean, I think it's on Spotify and I know it's on Audible. You can buy it on Amazon. Um, any of those sources, happy to get you a copy of the book. There's a free audiobook version available on our website too. Um, Reaching me directly, you're welcome to reach out to me. I'm just simply Jeff, Jeff at scaling.com. Um, I'm happy to put whatever contact information you guys want to share in the show notes and that sort of thing.
Perfect.
Um, yeah, happy to help, especially any business owner who's really kind of trying to wrap their brains around, you know, goal setting and where do we go from here.
Awesome. Jeff, thanks so much for your time, brother.
Privileged to spend time with you, my friend, always.
Beat
Beat
Navy.
Navy.
Hey, everybody, do us a favor if you're enjoying the show. If you know somebody in your network that might benefit from this conversation, please do us a favor and share it with them. And while I don't usually do a call to action, in the spirit of 10X, MCFA is exploring mergers and acquisitions. I started the podcast talking about how in 2018, when I started the EOS journey, we had a 10X goal uh, in 10 years. And we made it, or we are certainly on our path to make it in the next 2 years. We are setting a new 10X goal. And part of that is helping founders and owners like Michael Furman, who is our founder and my partner here at MCFA, helping founders and owners that might feel like they're stuck reach their 10X goal by joining us, either through merger or acquisition. Um, Not quite the private equity roll up that you hear about out there in so many circles. But if that's intriguing to you, if you want to have a conversation, if what you're hearing from us sounds interesting, would love to connect. So please reach out. My contact information is always available in the show notes, or you can get to me through LinkedIn. Till next time, have a great week and a great weekend.
See y'all.